Hello, hello, hello. I was watching a show this week, and I learned something. Sean and I are watching this show. It's based out of the UK, right? And every time they walk in the room, they say, hello, hello, hello. You know what Americans are lazy. You know, we just say, hi. Or, Yeah, so at any rate, hello, welcome.
Says, hi, friends.
Hi,
right?
friends.
Hi,
yeah,
friends. There you go.
in a golf voice.
Yeah.
Is it lazy, or is it effective that we say it once instead of 3 times?
I don't know. Maybe it's more heartfelt in the UK. Hello, hello, hello. How can you not feel loved?
I'm doing that from now on. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to the podcast. We are sitting here on a Tuesday afternoon. It's not even the afternoon. It's morning.
Yeah.
It's actually 10
that?
o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock. It feels like
It
the
might be
afternoon
afternoon,
already.
but we're Eastern Standard, so
Yeah, somewhere
It
it
is
is the afternoon. Yeah.
in the UK.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, guys.
Hi, Chris.
Welcome,
Hi, Angie.
welcome.
back.
So these guys are huge football fans. If you don't know,
Let's go.
we have Friday Night Lights here
Let's go.
in the Wani that you guys are all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's we're in the middle of that. We're also in the kickoff of pro season.
Mm.
Dustin
Fins
shared,
up.
yeah, and you're
Go Pack,
disappointed,
go.
yeah.
Actually, I think Fins might be down right now.
Fins are
So you
very
got
down.
the Dolphins, the Packers, and the Lions.
Let's go.
Isn't that just
How
an
you
interesting
know what,
group?
guys? Let's combine the amount of championships we've won in the last, 20 years, okay?
Thanks for joining us
You know
today.
what? I think we got 2, and where'd they all come from?
The Packers.
The Packers.
And
Go
I
Pack, go.
even know that. I even know that trivia, Brant, because I told these guys beforehand, I am not a pro football fan, but I am a college football fan. So I have some college football fan trivia, okay? Because we're going to talk a little bit later. You'll get into the details of what we're going to talk about with Follow and Grow. So I went in and I thought, how many colleges, what is the largest fan base, the biggest followership in college football? Anybody know? The largest, this is by both the Fox and it's collaborated with also the College Football Coaches Association. So what is the largest followership out there in college football?
I'll start. It's
Your
Notre
guess.
Dame, and this is why. Newt Rockne took the game international and across the states.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I like how you
Fact check
Okay,
me.
that
I
was
like how
one.
you
That
went
was
international and across the states.
Okay. So Brant's
International into Iowa. That's right.
okay. So Brant's guess is Notre Dame. Okay. What's your guess, Chris Knight?
I was going to say Notre Dame, but because he did, I'm going to change it to Alabama.
Okay. Alabama. Okay.
See, Angie, I think you're trying to trip us up here with some sneaky trivia, because I think the obvious answer would be Notre Dame, since you're asking it, and it probably is.
Oh,
I'm
you
gonna
mean
say-
because I'm a Notre Dame fan?
I'm going to say Texas.
Okay. You know those buzzers
close.
that went. We need one.
You have one of those?
Okay.
Did we all get it?
Nope. Nobody got it. And unfortunate. I want to say Notre Dame is number 2. Okay, and
It's
they
not
have
Michigan, is it?
no, but
Ohio
it's worse.
State?
It's worse. It's Ohio State. I know that's like the buzzer that kind of goes.
Are those fans real?
Okay, but it is 11.26 million Ohio State fans, and Notre Dame's in at 8.2 in second place. I'm pretty sad.
how they
we got to.
We do have a
Gauge
mental
something
health
like that.
crisis in
I know
America.
we
don't
do.
we?
Sure, too.
Okay,
This
moving
is
on. We got 3. Okay, next one.
0 for 1.
Okay, so this one you have to kind of open your mind up because it was kind of surprising. Who has the most followership on social media overall? Okay, like overall, who has the most followers
Are we talking
across
about-
all brands, like
Okay.
all platforms?
platforms.
Yeah, who has the most followers?
Which college has the most?
No, this is person.
Person. You're going to give us options?
Person.
We just got to guess a person.
Okay, I'll give you the top 5. I have the
Okay.
top 5 in front of me, and then you guys are going to go for it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande,
Also known
Justin
as
Bieber,
Ariana.
Ariana, sorry, Ariana, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano, thank you. Cristiano. I didn't practice my names because I didn't know I'd
It
have
has
to.
to roll off the tongue.
Cristiano. Okay, you guys tell me.
I'll go first again. Cristiano Ronaldo, because he's one of the most famous soccer players in the world.
Okay.
This was in my sermon, so I actually remember this.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I preached.
I know. I know.
And it
I
stuck.
did. I know.
I know that most people forget by lunch, but I actually remember. Yeah, so I'll sit this one out.
Okay.
Until after Dustin.
Were you not listening?
I
Evie?
was, but now I'm trying to recall because it's the easy answer, but is it the right one? Ronaldo. I'll go with Ronaldo.
Chris,
It was.
you guys have the ding, 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 ding.
With
correct.
917 million followers.
Right.
Wow,
That's
you even
crazy,
came with
isn't
the
it?
number too.
Yeah,
Guys.
917. Okay, last
I
one
did my
has
homework.
the word is tied to the word grow, the other word we're going to talk about. And I think you guys should know this, but I want to know a little bit of why.
I never like it when somebody says you should know this. That usually means
Well,
I'm fixing to not know.
What
this.
is the fastest growing organ in the human body?
I should know this.
I'll start again.
Yes.
Skin.
Okay.
Is that an organ?
I see, listener.
Wait.
Maybe the listener.
I'm on it.
What?
Liver.
Okay. Listener, you may know this answer and you may be hollering it in your car while you're listening to Dustin. What is the answer?
I have no idea.
Okay.
You're not even going to guess?
No, because it's going to seem like I'm just copying one of them. And so I'm going to genuinely say I have no idea.
Okay. Brant, the teacher, is correct.
Oh, my word.
Skin is one of the most fastest growing and
Well
Did you
done.
guys not even listen in school?
I
Sorry.
was going back. Wasn't it when we were interviewing Rob and Chris about how
Well, wait.
one
The
of
liver
they
does-
take
Hold on.
part of your
Hey,
organ and it would grow back?
You said to give a why. He just said skin. It's because you're constantly reproducing new skin cells.
yeah, and you're also growing as
Lame.
I'm out. See you
okay.
guys.
Yeah, way to go.
I still question the organ. Is it an organ?
Yes, it is. It's living, breathing,
Science
changing.
failed me.
Okay, last one. Fastest growing plant. You might know this.
I know this.
Okay.
I don't want to be
Brant,
first this time.
you went first the last two times. Let's go with Dustin,
you,
who he
Angie.
kind of
Is it-
went out.
Is it fastest as in like,
You just guess. Don't try to guess too many. Like,
is it bamboo?
okay, that's your guess is bamboo.
I don't know. Fastest growing plant. I don't know. I'm going to say apple tree.
Okay, okay.
Wow. I'm going with bamboo. I think it's bamboo.
You are correct with the ding, 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 ding. You guys should be on Jeopardy. I'm
Let's
telling
go.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Together we'd be good.
I know. Yeah, you have to be a
Individually,
team.
Hey, you just
Okay.
eat your apples and leave us.
Education related. Brandt's tapping
I
it.
was thinking more about orchards.
Yes. So, listener, I chose these trivia questions on purpose because bamboo is very interesting because it doesn't grow very fast right away.
Right.
It grows
It's
fast.
like 7 years, isn't
Yeah,
it?
5 years, and then it grows. It can grow 90 feet tall in 5 weeks. That's crazy.
After its
after
initial-
its initial
it seems like
kind of
it's-
like sitting there, kind of pulling down roots,
Yeah.
and then it just
What did you say in 5 weeks? How?
90 feet.
Oh my word!
That's crazy. It's just I just think it's a great picture of growth. It
is.
And so
It is,
it's a great
because-
segue into,
Yeah, it is. It's amazing because I think you would give up on it
Oh,
after a certain while, and
100%.
you're like, "This is never going to happen."
100%.
How much do we give up on our potential because we don't stick with it long enough to actually see the growth? And I think that happens in church. This is I don't even know where you're heading with this, but we see that the actual best years in a church is when a pastor has been there like 6, 7, 8 years. Those are what are deemed like fruitful years. But most pastors leave in 4 years.
Yeah. So I thought these nice trivia questions would lead into our discussion, which we had both Chris share the other week on being a follower of Jesus, and Dustin this last week on growing. And so, just as to get us started, I'm going to read our Walk EMC mission that we know is making disciples who love Jesus and love people. And then we've laid out this new. It's kind of new. I say it's
Yeah, it
new,
is.
right? Like
It
this
is.
this within the last 6 months. Would you guys agree? Is the Walk EMC vision. And so I'll read that, and then I'm going to hand it over to Chris, and we're going to kind of get started on these two words. Guided by our unwavering commitment to follow Jesus, we are growing in faith. We're serving others and multiplying disciples. We envision a church where lives are transformed, communities are impacted, and God's kingdom is advanced.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was one thing when we were sitting around as elders and we were talking about this topic of a mission statement. I'll be honest with you. I'm not one who gets all worked up about mission and vision statements. I want to just get after it. It's my personality. Just go do it. But I think it was really important to put some words to how are we going to make this happen, or what do we actually envision happening if we make disciples and who love Jesus and love people. And so there's really 4 key words that you mentioned in that, and that's follow, grow, serve, and multiply. I used to teach it like this when I was talking about church involvement and what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus, like a 3-legged stool. You need to be a part of a large group setting, a small group setting, and serve somewhere. And if you're missing one of those, you're off balance somewhere. But I would tend to say when you look at our overall purpose of what we should be as a follower of Jesus, we should be following, and that means living in active, close pursuit after Jesus to grow in faith. It's not stagnant. It's an intentional development, like the bamboo, right? You should be growing. You should be developing. But too many times what we see is people are just holding that into themselves. Oh, great, I'm growing in knowledge and I'm growing in my love for Jesus. But there has to be an outward expression of that, and that's the service. We're actually going to get into that this coming Sunday about serving others. And then ultimately what happens is multiplication takes place as we're investing in that. So we came up with that statement because we felt like this is what happens when we intentionally have a mission that is about loving Jesus and loving people.
And what I really like about the statement too, it's not just words that we think are unique or that are cool or whatever, or that I think that what I really like about it, the statement, is that it's very biblical. I mean, you just look at the words, you look at the statements, and it really is the way that Jesus lived his life. And so that, I think, as a believer, as a follower of Jesus, it helps us, kind of gives us these posts, if you will, to be able to look at our life and be like, okay, am I following? Am I growing? Am I serving, or am I multiplying? And if we're not in one of those areas, it helps us kind of evaluate where we're at as a believer, kind of how we're doing. So
I think it's important for vision, because I think I've been in reading some new books, and you guys know how much I like to read. Well, I've actually changed how I read. I've been listening to books, and so it's really enjoyable for me, and I can really kind of process the thought as I listen. So I just finished Atomic Habits, okay?
Oh, good book.
Yes, it is good. And the reason why I point this out is we often think like goals are the vision, like the end goal, like we want to be at a certain size church. But the most important thing is what? The process of what you put into place to work towards the habits of daily life, the understanding of what you're doing and how you're doing it and what you're doing it for. And so I say that. I just think laying out a vision statement is really important, because we can say making disciples who love Jesus and love people all day long, but we need to know the how and what the process is. And I believe that's what this vision statement kind of gives us. Would you agree?
That's a good way to say it. Yeah, absolutely. How do you arrive?
One thing that I really appreciated about the topic follow, and when you honed in on that, Chris, was that visual that you gave us. And you said you've shown it here a few times over the course of your tenure here, but this idea of knowing someone's voice and trusting in that voice. And so you showed a video of blind downhill skiers and how they ski with a guide behind them telling them what to do. And they have to fully trust in that guide, who has to stay a certain distance away from them. They have to fully trust in that person to get them down the hill and cross the finish line. And the amount of trust and the amount of practice that they have to put into that just go hand in hand with this whole idea of what it is to know your Father's voice. you can't just go up to the hill, put on a headset, and go down it blind immediately with him. You have to spend time with him. You have to put things into practice in order to know his voice at the right times and in the right settings.
Well, and I think that ties so well to the Colossians verse that you brought up even on Sunday, Dustin, which is Colossians 2:6-7, and I'm going to read it in New Living Translation, and it says, "And now, just as you accepted Christ Jesus as Lord, you must continue." I like that. That continue to follow him. Let your roots grow down into him, and let your lives be built on him. Then there's important words in here. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness. They're
Bamboo.
tied together. And they're tied together. And that's when I read that, I was thinking bamboo. Like, it's something that you have to not only just grow the roots, there's important side of followership. Like, followership isn't something that I'm just going to decide to follow you, Chris. But I actually have to look at what you're doing in your life to follow you. We have to look at Jesus. We have to study. We have to understand. We have to go after. And actually, you have to end up acting like that person when you follow up with somebody. You're going to make a change, or you're going to do something if you look into that.
Angie, you say something, or you have said things to our Kidman volunteers and people working with children in the past. I've heard you say it, that your faith is more caught than taught.
Yes.
And that goes right along with what you're saying. We have to see it. We have to know it's authentic in you and real in you. And then we can start reciprocating that back and reflecting, I should say, that same mindset as we trust and believe what you're showing. And doing.
But I think we do this naturally. Wouldn't you guys all agree? Like, this is something that no matter where we are, we're a follower, or we're being developed by something that we follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah. It goes back to what you're saying too, just about habits. I mean, because we become what we do consistently. And so if we are consistently indulging ourselves in whatever, then that's what our life is going to revolve around. I mean, it's pretty simple it's a pretty simple concept to understand. But as far as following Jesus and growing spiritually, I mean, they're so connected and intertwined. It's hard to say I'm going to be a follower of Jesus, but as far as my entire life is going to be revolved around something else, and then I'll go to church on Sundays, and I'm going to try to still grow. Like, it just doesn't. I mean, again, on the outside looking in, it's like, well, obviously that's not going to work. And so it's about, do we have any kind of a plan? I mean, we have meal plans. We have workout plans. Do we have any kind of our own personal spiritual growth plan? Because if we do, awesome. And I think that just helps us stay consistent. That doesn't mean it's going to produce perfection, but it'll hopefully produce progress. And so that's part of the goals of believers, is to continual pursuit of progressing.
One of the words we use here when we do the discipleship training is the word intentional. And what I'm hearing you say is there's an intentionality about it. It's not a randomness or happenstance. It's just, there's a plan. We have a goal. I really like the verse Dustin used in Colossians, because I think it's a perfect picture of wholeness, of well-roundedness. It talks about roots going down in order to be built up, right? So you got to go down, and then it's built up. But then there's this inside, when it says, then your faith will grow strong. That's the innard, right? And then the outward is the overflowing. And I love that picture, because it's not just picking, like, I only want my roots to go down. It's shooting up. There's a natural growth. And then there's the inside. But then you just don't keep it inside. You push it out. It's a great picture of.
And I want to tell the listener, this is why I like bamboo so much, because time is our friend. I think a lot of times people think in growth. So I was a parent. I'm not going to lie. I had twins. And
Thanks for not lying about having twins.
I was going to die. Like, I was never going to get over the hurdle, because it was either one, you first got to make sure they're fed, then they're sleeping, then wait, you got to do it again and again and again. And then you're making sure, wait, they got to be potty trained. You got to teach them to read. I mean, everything was like a hurdle for times 2, And I was like, are they ever going to grow up? And Dan and I joke about it, like, they have become blessings. He'll tell you that. That
Totally
is
get
not
that.
that is not my words. That is my husband's words. He will tell them, "You guys have become blessings." And I say this because there's some really great stories. The kids know. I called my dad, Denny, on the phone when I found out I was having twins, and I'm like, "Dad, I was bawling." He was on the floor of his business, and he had to come take an emergency call over the speaker, and so.
Because it was a crisis.
Because it was a super crisis. But I say that is that it took time. And I think sometimes we want to, we are, like you said it, or maybe somebody said it, you might have said it 2 weeks ago, we are a microwave culture. We have learned to take everything by the minute rather than by the hour, the day, or the year. And like minute is a lot quicker than a year or a 5-year process. And I just think growth sometimes is underrated, and roots are important.
Let's plant bamboo in the courtart here.
So as a great
And then
illustration.
we all have to stay around long enough to see it start to grow, and then Rich will curse us.
But this plays true in all types of life. It's not just in the church. It's not just in athletics. A coach can't just come in and change a program and a culture in a year.
Well, think about it. That's a great point, because you think about athletics, for example, as far as just this idea of waiting or patience or time, because coaches are brought in and they're expected to change the program immediately. I mean, even professional football, the NFL, you draft a rookie quarterback, and so often it used to be where they could sit for a couple years, watch, learn, train before they're actually put into action, and now they draft them and they're expected to play immediately and play well. And I mean, there's been a guy that was drafted just 2 years ago, and he's already they had benched him, and they're bringing in another guy because the team isn't producing results. And it's just interesting to me that we live in a world where we expect instant, easy, and all this to happen just in our mindset, because we have access to so many things at our fingertips, and that's just not the way that growth happens so often.
So I was able to sit with somebody too that had just become a Christian, and I think they're like, why can't I get this right already? And why can't I figure out why I am not doing what I want to do? It's just what Paul says, and I keep doing what I don't want to do, even though I know what is right. And I just think that in this process, there's this whole idea of why grow ties to follow. And I think we forget it. And we even were sitting around on Sunday in a Sunday school discussion, because we are people that create goals and ambitions, and we want to look and we want to create visions. But there's a missing piece sometimes when we talk about spiritual growth, and that is the Holy Spirit. And I know that I hadn't really thought about this very much, but our growth is determined by how hard we follow after God, because the followership is determined by that communion of the Holy Spirit in our lives, because He does the work. He does the work. And it is intentional work in our hearts. And we can either be open to it or we can be closed off to it. And I love how Paul even states it, that the Holy Spirit is so much at work that He even knows how to pray for us when we don't know how to pray. And I think we forget about that. What do you think about how this missing link between the two, Chris, is so important?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is important. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I just agree.
I just think sometimes we try to do so much. We just try to be like, oh, I'm doing my devotions. Like you said, we're checking off all the boxes.
Right. And I really like the verses you were just talking about a second ago. Paul in Romans, I try to do what is right,
Romans
and I don't do what I should do. But then he gets to the end, he's like, I like how he's like, what a miserable man am I? And he says, who can help me in this life of sin? He goes, oh, thank God, Jesus Christ. And I think that's remembering that so much of it, the growth comes from the grace, right? It's about the transformation. And so if we're just trying to change on our own and we're just changing behavior, then there's no real growth that's going to take place. I mean, we might feel good, but as far as actual growth, it stems from the grace that we experience.
What was that quote?
I know, that's what I was going to ask
right?
him.
It's not behavior modification, it's spiritual transformation, right? That stuck out to me on Sunday because that kind of sums up what Paul is saying. where you were talking about earlier, like we need to have these growth plans. We need to have a vision for our spiritual disciplines. That's actually spiritual transformation. That's allowing God to mold and make you. We can try to do it all on our own and try to have these modifications set in place. But if it's not God working in and through us, we are always going to fail ourselves in the long run.
I loved what you said, Dustin, on Sunday, and I'm not going to get it right, but you said we are saved by grace, but we also grow in grace at the end. And I think we forget that. That's what I'm, tying this back to, is that grace is part of it. The God's work in our heart and our lives is part of it.
So much of following and growing is the good times and the bad times and the struggles. And for some reason, I'm still stuck on that in my mind of sometimes we get to the point where we fail and we go, well, I'm not obviously cut out for this or able to do. I go back to kids' sports in my mind. When you have kids now in their second and third grade years saying, I guess I'm no good at football. Well, you haven't even grown into your body yet, And sometimes I think in this idea of growing, when we're trying to grow spiritually, you were mentioning, Angie, following hard after something. The disciples learned so much when they failed. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to fail in our growth process, or we quit and say, I'm not good at it. But that's that when you were saying pursue hard after something, in my opinion, it's picking yourself back up and getting going again. And so I was kind of hung out still thinking about that process.
Fine. But I think that ties together, because when you press hard after something, you're going to realize that you are not there yet. Like I haven't already attained all this, I haven't really grasped all of it. Right. And I tie it to that. Brant, you have something to add in there?
I do. One of my favorite shows is Shark Tank. I love when entrepreneurs pitch their ideas to people who have millions or billions of dollars.
And for that reason, I'm out.
And for that reason, and for those reasons, I'm out.
Because I have no money.
It just intrigues me. So the guy who developed the Ring doorbell, right? I can't remember his name. Anyway, he went. It used to be called Doorbot, and he went on Shark Tank, pitched the idea, and Kevin O'Leary, who's like the main shark in the middle, Mr. Wonderful, as many of you know him. Looks quite like Chris, actually, in my opinion. Good-looking guy. Yeah, but, he basically told the guy, he says poo-poo on a stick. And he says, take it out behind the barn and kill it and stop. And he made him an offer, but the guy didn't want it. And he says, Kevin O'Leary's words were, okay, you're dead to me. And then the guy left. And anyway, turns out, right, he made some adjustments and changed the name to Ring Doorbell. And now he's a multimillionaire, if not a billionaire. And he comes back on the show. And now he's a shark. And they kind of laugh about that. And there's a pitch that was made while the Ring Doorbell guy was sitting next to Kevin O'Leary as a shark. And the same kind of conversation happened. This has the potential to be good, but it's just not good right now. And the guy who made the Ring Doorbell said, sometimes the best prescription that we're gifted is failure. Mm-hmm. Because if you're really committed, it's what you do with that failure that matters, right? It's how you respond to that failure. And usually you come back and so much more growth happens because of the way you responded.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to even the whole idea of following, building up a vision, understanding is that back to my little reference to Atomic Habits, you shouldn't do something wrong more than twice or it becomes a bad habit. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we forget that we're going to fail. We're going to sin. We are going to fall at times, but to use that as a growth point, I guess, to tie that in is we get up, we go to the next thing, and we realize, you know what, God's got this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to choose to be His follower.
Right. I'm curious. I'm going to ask you guys a question, Chris. At the end of your message, you talked about this idea of clinging to Jesus, and it's and that hit home with me because it's just when I think about that, there's almost like a desperation aspect of it. When you're clinging to something, it's not like you're just putting your hand on somebody. It's like, no, you are clinging. There's a hope. There's a desperation. So what is it? Maybe we all have our own answer or idea, but what is it that you think keeps us from clinging to Jesus versus just kind of this nonchalant that we see in so many believers and so many churches today?
Options. That's my answer. I think we live in a world that has so many options, and we haven't resolved the fact that Jesus said, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. And when I think of clinging to something, to cling to something is that desperation move. And it says in there is no other viable option. And if there isn't another viable option, I have to cling to it. But until we've settled that there aren't other options, we won't, I don't think, cling. That's my opinion.
But I think that's the beauty of faith, because that tells us a little bit about who God is, because he gave us the choice to choose. Yeah. And he gave us that option to say, I choose you and I'm going to follow you. And that's what he wants from us. And so I just say that because that gives us a picture of how much he cares for us and how much he wants us to be a part of his story.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation today. Hopefully you found some hope in it. I think the intentionality of following and the intentionality of growing in the series that we're in is really important for us to personally consider. You know, obviously this is written corporately. This is what Walkers Missionary Church wants to accomplish this is our vision for when we actually apply our mission. This is what we envision happening. But we are the church individually. And in order for the body of Christ to continue to grow and develop, we individually have to follow. We individually have to be intentional about growing. So we challenge you. Ask yourself the questions. Where are you at in this process? Are you being intentional in these areas? And Dustin, I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks. We got a couple other topics, serving and multiplying, to come. And perhaps we'll pick up the podcast next time with some of those topics. But we thank you for joining us. Thanks for being a regular part of this episodes that we put out here. And we encourage you, if you know somebody who could benefit from this or even need a chuckle when we mess up at some things or talk about football or Angie's trivia, then share it. Share it with others that you might think would benefit from this. Until next time, we wish you all the grace and peace that can only be found in Jesus Christ.